Time to call Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. Let's get that wet forecast this morning from our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Rain and a thunderstorm early this morning and partly sunny, windy. High today 71. Breezy, mild tonight, increasing cloudiness. Rain and a thunderstorm toward dawn. Low 52. Rain and a thunderstorm around tomorrow morning. High 53. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Currently 48 at O'Hare. Next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, and your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy and Joe Biden talking to a Wisconsin network affiliate reporter, her just dutifully reading from her paper. Hey, Joe, what do you think about what Ron Johnson said? This was a great interrogation on the Hunter Biden topic.
Ron Johnson put out a statement on Homeland Security letterhead saying Hunter Biden, together with other Biden family members, profited off the Biden name. Is there any legitimacy to Senator Johnson's claims?
None whatsoever. This is the same garbage Rudy Giuliani, Trump's henchman. It's the last-ditch effort in this desperate campaign to smear me and my family. Even the man who served with him on that committee, the former nominee for the Republican Party, said there's no basis to this. And, you know, and the vast majority of the intelligence people have come out and said there's no basis at all. Ron should be ashamed of himself.
Well, today's a new day, a bad day for the Bidens because new information is coming out.
Well, first of all, I don't know why he can't remember Mitt Romney's name. He keeps referring to him generically. And by the way, the reference he made to Mitt Romney saying this isn't an appropriate use of government's time was made back in September. I wonder if Senator Romney would like to revise and extend his viewpoint in lieu of the information that's come out in the last 8 days. Probably so, I suspect. It was nice of that reporter and the entire press corps to not bother Joe Biden with any specific questions on any of the specific information that has come out. Just give him an opportunity to wave off any of the questions raised, information that has been made public by saying it's just a smear campaign by Trump henchmen. I don't think that's what it is. I don't think Mark Hemingway thinks that's what it is either. Mark Hemingway, senior writer at RealClearInvestigation's.com. Thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
So is that the interplay with that Wisconsin television reporter and Joe Biden? Is that about the quintessential approach that the D.C. press corps is taking to this story generally?
I think so. I mean, it's absolutely astounding that the press has become the cheerleaders essentially for both censoring other reporters who the few reporters who do write critical stories about Democrats, and at the same time, they're effectively running the Biden campaign. I mean, you saw the lead up, the question there was dripping with disdain and skepticism. It was just teeing it up for Joe Biden to go off. And I'm sorry, what Joe Biden just said about people profiting off his name isn't just like misleading. It is dishonest in the extreme. I mean, anyone who has followed this knows that Hunter Biden has traded off of his name explicitly. So has his brother, Jim Biden, who no one is even talking about. The FBI raided a business his brother was connected to earlier this year, which was a story that I broke.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
People just are not talking about this stuff, and if you're being honest, you have to call out Joe Biden for his dishonesty here.
All right, well, then what did we learn yesterday from Tony Bobolinsky?
Tony Bobolinsky, well, he was just one of the men that was involved in a business dealing with Hunter Biden in China, who came out and basically said that, you know, what the New York Post is reporting about me and my involvement in with Hunter Biden is in fact true. And so this is the story, again, that, you know, Facebook limited and Twitter effectively banned for a long time. I think the New York Post is still locked out of their Twitter account on the grounds that they suspected that this was, quote unquote, Russian disinformation has become the talking point. I mean, it's absolutely astounding to me. Like, the reporters have done more reporting on what the New York Post did to report the story than actually trying to verify the information the New York Post reported.
Well, right.
And
When the facts aren't with you, what do? You attack your opponent. This is, what you learn in your first day of law school, probably your first day of journalism school these days. And Bobulinski, there's something else that he said, though, too. I've seen Vice President Biden saying he never talked to Hunter about his business. I've seen firsthand that that's not true, because it wasn't just Hunter's business. They said they were putting the Biden family name and its legacy on the line. So,
yeah,
I mean, this is he's not just verifying that email was authentic. He's saying that what Joe has said is untrue, and that essentially, if the email is authentic and what Joe has said is untrue, that he is a material part, if not the principal, directing Hunter Biden and the rest of the Biden family members on how to enrich themselves while he has a position that they can trade on.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly the question, though, that every journalist in the country needs to be getting to the bottom of. I mean, again, we've already seen, this should not be a new revelation that Joe Biden is involved here. Clearly Joe Biden had to know about his son's involvement with Burisma as it was happening. We've had reporting that it was raised within the White House that it looked bad, that Hunter Biden was working for this Ukrainian gas company while his father was handling Ukraine for the White House. We know that Biden has known about this and looked the other way. So for him to get up there and say this now, like, every, spidey sense that journalists have, and, when it comes to, like, sniffing out the truth and holding people accountable, should just be, going haywire right now. And that's not what we're seeing at all. I mean, I get that this is a contentious election and but you have to treat everyone equally.
Well, and here's the thing about Hunter, too. Michael Brendan Doherty, again, reporting in the New York Post, goes a little bit back into a little further back into Hunter Biden's CV. Hunter Biden's first job was at MBNA, the credit card conglomerate that was a huge Joe Biden bundler. Joe Biden would do the industry's bidding in the Senate, and an MBNA executive helped arrange the senior Biden's acquisition of his multi-million-dollar spread in Delaware. Then Hunter Biden moved into the Clinton administration and then back to MBNA as a quote-unquote consultant, which Michael Brennan Doherty describes as often a code word for a guy who knows powerful people, right? And later, Hunter Biden had a high-pay little work job at Amtrak, federally funded. So this idea that Hunter Biden is, just a serial entrepreneur who does his own thing, and he doesn't prize Dad because Dad wouldn't understand these things. He doesn't know what I'm doing. I do my own thing. He's never done his own thing. He's always traded on his dad. He's always relied on his dad. And for a person who's had as many personal problems as he had, not criticizing him, just describing it, you could understand why he would need to trade on his dad. You could also surmise that it's more likely than not that somebody like Hunter Biden with a relatively thin resume would be running everything he's doing by Dad, particularly when everyone knows he's in positions he's in because of Dad.
Yeah, and again, I want to repeat, it's not just Hunter. I mean, James Biden, Joe Biden's brother, had a lobbying outfit called the Lion Hall Group that lobbied for the passage of legislation related to the tobacco settlement from the 1990s and was, retained by trial lawyers, in the case. And Joe Biden supported the legislation that they wanted at the time. I mean, you're damn right.
Nepotism.
The Biden family is trading off a name.
Wow. And then also, too, I mean, when in regards to these Chinese deals, weren't the Chinese buying access to the White House? And that pretty much put Vice President in a compromising position because they could have, blackmailed him.
Last year, in the pages of the New Yorker, which ran this incredibly favorable profile designed to inoculate of Hunter Biden, designed to inoculate Joe Biden's campaign from any criticism of Hunter's dealings. In the pages of the New Yorker, this is not some right-wing rag. The New Yorker, Hunter Biden admits to taking an $80,000 bribe from a Chinese tycoon in the form of a diamond that was delivered to his hotel room. Now, why is all of the burden of proof on the New York Post to prove these corrupt dealings when Hunter Biden himself is admitting these things?
It's just remarkable. It really is. But I guess I can't feign surprise anymore because this has been ongoing in the same direction. It's the strategy that needs to be deployed to advance the flag for Joe Biden or the left or whoever the Democrat nominee would have been. So this is perpetuate stories we know to be false for 3.5 years. Now block stories we know to be true in order to protect our interests, our political interests. That's what the D.C. press corps has become, hasn't it?
That's exactly right. I mean, there's no functional difference between the Democratic Party and the D.C. press corps at this point in time. I mean, they're running Joe Biden's campaign. They are, his communications, shop. I mean, if you're a Democratic press secretary or you're a press secretary in the Biden campaign, what do you do all day? I mean, seriously.
They take all your work away, right? Well, it's like, Senate Democrats last week in the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation, they resisted. They knew they'd be in trouble if they raised the specter of her religion as problematic. Well, they didn't need to. The D.C. press corps did it the week before, the week during, and they'll do it the week after when she gets confirmed on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically. I'm sorry. What did you just say?
Well, the Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, just to your point is like, nobody needs to do anything. They report on how the Senate Democrats, they learn from DiFi in the Seventh Circuit confirmation hearing for Amy Coney Barrett. So they're not going to raise the issue of religion. They're going to be very respectful. Then all the pundits get on the Sunday Talk and say they were very respectful. They didn't go after religion. They recognize that's illegitimate, so on and so forth. They didn't want to engender a backlash like DiFi got or like they got from their performance during the Kavanaugh hearings. But I mean, they're all working together, complementing one another, as they didn't need to do anything because all the D.C. press corps outlets are running the People of Praise stuff and questioning Amy Coney Barrett's qualifications because she's, perhaps some shadow theocrat that we're going to put on the high court and so forth. So why would DiFi or Booker or Kamala have to raise the issue? It's already out into the public arena, which is all they really wanted.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I don't know if you knew this, but my wife wrote a book on the Kavanaugh confirmation. Yeah. And one of the remarkable things about that was the absolutely explicit, coordination. I mean, it was like a perfect waltz in time between the media and, them springing all those accusations on Kavanaugh. In the case of Coney Barrett, you're exactly right. You're seeing the same sort of, coordinated dance between the two groups, although Barrett is a little harder to attack for a variety of different reasons. But it's not to say that they didn't try. Like, for instance, the New York Times, I think this past weekend just published this lengthy story about, how Amy Coney Barrett came to adopt two, African-American children. And it was all about the adoption process. And, it was a very generally sort of complimentary story. But what I got out of the story is they actually tried to dig up dirt on her adopted kids, and they just couldn't find any.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just appalling that they would even, look into that subject.
Well, it was something else, too, just sticking on the press for a moment. This has been underreported because of everything that's going on. But this New York Times piece at the outset of the week, the problem with the First Amendment, this retrospective, the problem we have with that free speech, that pesky free speech deal that we've got in this country. They're setting the stage in combination with their big tech overlords, all of our big tech overlords, I guess, to essentially to build political support for eliminating opinions that don't conform with leftist orthodoxy. It seems to me. Mark?
Mark, are you there?
Did we lose Mark?
We lost Mark.
We apparently lost Mark.
Sorry.
Oh, no, Mark's
I'm
back.
here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I've face muted myself on my iPhone.
Oh, okay. Well, you heard my question then.
Yeah, so the big problem, I think, in this country right now is that the information system in this country is totally asymmetric. If you want to know what a Democrat thinks, you turn on the television or whatever. If a Democrat wants to know what a conservative thinks about stuff, I don't think he's going out subscribing to the Claremont Review of Books.
Right.
And so consequently, they're creating this sort of giant feedback loop of confirmation bias between, the media and Democratic politicians here, where anything that exists outside, any information that exists outside that loop must be invalid or disinformation or, otherwise, the rantings of, crazy people who don't speak for any, large group of people. And so that's going to continue to cause a lot of discontent in the political system until they start cutting, actually conservative people in and not colluding directly with the Democratic Party and having a wide variety of voices out there. That's the only way we're going to start to see tempers cool is if we start, actually listening to each other. And the way things have become in this country, I really think the onus is mostly on the left to actually make the effort to realize that half the country is not entirely crazy. You may disagree with them, but they're not crazy, and they need to have their voices heard.
Well, I agree with you, but what I'm suggesting is the left has no interest in fulfilling that role. And in point of fact, they're going to get more aggressive with their purge. It seems to me they're indicating that the purge will continue and will be ratcheted up, actually, regardless of outcome on November 3rd.
I think that's absolutely true. If you look at just the general sort of progression of the ideology on the left, whether it's critical race theory or anti-fascism or any of that nonsense, it's pretty clear they're rejecting explicitly liberal in the classical sense and American ideas about free speech and, freedom of association. And so, yes, that's happening. What I think, though, is as long as they claim to rally around this core value of democracy, they're going to have to deal with varying degrees of populist discontent. And, either, like I said, they start having an open conversation about acknowledging these views, or they're going to have to, or we're going to get to a point where democracy is actually threatened in a way that that is very, very serious, as opposed to what they're claiming democracy is threatened by now.
Mark Hemingway, senior writer, RealClearInvestigation's.com. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
After 25 years of building websites for all kinds of companies in many different industries, AmericanEagle.com realized a well-designed website is also your best employee, bringing efficiency, revenue, production, showing up every day, giving above and beyond